Hi everybody, I'm Joe Cuhaj, and welcome to part 3 of our look at some of the fantastic hiking adventures you'll experience along America's third coast, from Tampa, Florida to Corpus Christi, Texas. Welcome to Hiking the Gulf Coast. Today we'll visit some of the great hiking adventures you can experience on the far western side of the Gulf of Mexico in the state of Texas. Our travels will take us from the Louisiana state line at Sabine Pass to just north of the Mexican border at Corpus Christi. We'll begin our journey at Sea Rim State Park and the Gambusia Marsh Nature Trail. Named for the gambusia, or mosquito fish, the Gambusia Marsh Nature Trail is a small 1-mile boardwalk lollipop loop. The best time to hike this trail is in the morning, when the marsh is filled with mallard and wood ducks, egrets, and the red hues of the roseate spoonbill. You may also see raccoons or river otters relaxing on the boardwalk right in front of you. And don't be surprised if something is seen bubbling up underneath your feet on the boardwalk. There are alligators here, so keep the children and dogs close at hand. Heading a little further west, we head out into the Gulf to one of the state's barrier islands and the city of Galveston to hike the Oak Bayou Loop Trail at Galveston State Park. The Oak Bayou Loop Trail is a great loop hike in the park, which combines 3 trails: the Clapper Rail Trail, Egret Loop, and the Heron's Walk Trail. These 3 trails combine to make a 1.7-mile circuit through the wide bayous and salt marshes. The trail is lined with the big purple bulbs of prickly pear cactus and wildflowers like the Indian blanket or firewheel, with their distinctive red petals and yellow tips that brighten up the greens and browns of the marsh. And of course, being on a wetland, you will see plenty of birds like great blue heron, snowy egrets, and reddish egrets with their auburn-colored head. Our next stop is one of my favorite state parks in Texas, Brazos Bend and the Lake Loop Trail. This 3.2-mile double loop takes in 3 stunning lakes: Old and New Horseshoe Lakes and Elm Lake. Also at Brazos Bend State Park, you'll find the 2.8-mile-long White Oak Red Buckeye Loop. This loop gives you a great view from atop a bluff of the wide Brazos River that was made famous in many Western songs, as well as a feeder to the river, Big Creek, and its fast-running shoals. And you will undoubtedly spy white-tailed deer all along the hike. Moving on, we find ourselves in the small town of Tivoli, just 70 miles north of Corpus Christi, and the Aransas National Wildlife Refuge and its Heron Flats Loop. This refuge is an important migration stop for the whooping crane, which is on the endangered species list. In 1940, only 15 of the birds existed. Today, they number around 500. Still not a strong population, but it is growing. In addition to the whooping crane, the refuge plays host to over 400 species of birds. They flock here to feast on the smorgasbord that the brackish water of the bay lays out for them. The 1.4-mile-long Heron Flats Loop is the longest in the refuge and lets you check off many of the birds that migrate here from your checklist. Along the route, you'll also see some fascinating plants like the prickly pear cactus and the aptly named Spanish dagger plant. Our last stop is another one of my favorites. It's on the north side of Mustang Island, a barrier island just across the bay from Corpus Christi. It's the Salt Island Marsh Trail at Port Aransas Nature Preserve. The preserve was once a distressed farmland, but the city, nonprofits, and volunteers worked very hard to reclaim the salt marsh. The result is this truly amazing 2.2-mile boardwalk hike. A salt marsh is a coastal wetland with a network of snaking channels or tidal creeks that flood at least twice a day, leaving a high concentration of salt behind, or a salt pan. Plants like the glasswort, also called pickleweed, thrive in this environment and provide habitat for small invertebrates and is a source of food for other animals. The trail stretches 1.1 miles into the salt marsh, Aljo Flat, and the salt pan. The turnaround for the trip is a short loop around Salt Island itself, where you get another fantastic view from an observation deck. Don't forget to bring along some insect repellent and sunscreen in the summer months. There is no protection from the sun or mosquitoes. This is only a small sample of the many trails that you'll find along the Texas Gulf Coast. Hopefully, I've whet your appetite and you're ready to lace up those boots and hit the trail and explore for yourself. You can find out more about hiking the entire Gulf Coast from Tampa, Florida to Corpus Christi, Texas in my Falcon Guide, Hiking the Gulf Coast. We've left the best for last. In our final installment, we'll hike some of the beautiful trails of the Florida Gulf Coast.